Well, hello, I'm Richard, and let's take a look at what we've done since our last video. Well, as I had mentioned in that first video, we were going to add a vent to the front of the trailer here, which is in the center of the bathroom. We also added cameras. There's the front view camera right there. There's a side view camera right there. And we added these vent covers over the vents, as well as we added the 8 100 watt solar panels. These were panels that I happened to have. I had someone ask me why only 800 watts. Well, it's what I had laying around. There would be room for more, but we're going to have 1600 watts on the bed of the truck. So take a quick look at what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 600 watts, 1600 watts that's in the bed of our Doka. And in 5 minutes, this can be out of the bed of the Doka. In another 5 minutes, it could be secured in the bed of the truck. So that's the plan. So we added the solar and the vents, and let's take a look at what's changed on the inside. So this is the bathroom vent, and there's the one in the center of the trailer. So what we did was use butyl tape between the vent flange and the roof, and then I used these boards to screw the fan down to those boards right there, and the Gorilla Tape was just to hold the board in place till you got screws in it. But they're multi-speed fans, reversible fans. It's the same thing I've got in the car trailer, and they work well. I'm happy with them, and I like those vent covers real well. We've had them for a long time on the car trailer. In regards to the solar panels, they're held in place with little brackets that attach to the channel, and there's 4 pieces, there's 8 pieces of channel. There's 2 for each panel, there's 2 for each pair of panels. So these 2 panels have these 2 channels, and because of the crown on the trailer, which is very, very slight, we had to split the channel. Because the ribs ran this way, we couldn't, because the way the roofing wants to lay, we couldn't go lengthwise with the channels. We had to go widthwise, and we had to split them. So this channel goes halfway across, and then there's one on the other side that goes approximately halfway across. And so there's 2, 4, 6, 8 of those channels, and those channels are held to the roof with VHB tape. You can see that in order to keep my solar panels nice and low on the roof and yet keep things rigid and sturdy, I built an internal rack. Instead of one on the outside, there's one on the inside here. So you can see, I come and look this direction, that we've got cross member that mounts to one side of the rack and the other, and we do that front and rear. And so basically I have 2 sets of 4 as far as the panels go. So I only had to put 8 holes through the ceiling, which is more than I like, but less than a lot of the mounting methods would take. And those panels are on there solid. You could put a piece of plywood on top of those solar panels and basically walk up there That's how solid it is. So anyway, then this will also be a mounting point for my ceiling. It's also going to be part of the infrastructure for my bed setup, my elevator bed, or whatever you want to call it. And so that's a look at the inside as far as the solar panels go. The camera wiring coming in. You notice I use a lot of ABS. It's great stuff, has a lot of good properties, but we use it, because this roof metal is really thin, so we use it as a backing plate for bolting through. So the vents, like I said, we used butyl tape between the flange and the roof, and then on top of the flange and the roof we put Eternabond tape. And so if you had noticed that when I was showing you the top view, it's pretty obvious. We cover everything. Matter of fact, we did the seams. We'll do all of the seams eventually with Eternabond tape, but we did the seams that are under the solar panels. So there's 2 seams that are under solar panels. There's this one here, and then there's one there. Those 2 seams we've already Eternabond. So we put the Eternabond right over the factory had put Dicor on there, and so we put the Eternabond over that. I've done that. I did that on my 5th wheel trailer. All the seams were done when we bought it, and never had a problem. Matter of fact, on the 5th wheel trailer, we went over the edge. There was a rain gutter on it, but there's screws that hold that rain gutter on, and so I actually came over the top edge of the trailer and over those screws that held the rain gutter on. So there was no way to have a breach. And because, boy, water intrusion, well, that can really ruin more than just your day. The other thing I've done is I outlined where things are, the big items are going to be. So right there in the front corner, that's the shower, 32 by 32 inch shower. There's the door for the bathroom. There's the toilet, and then there will be the other amenities in the bathroom. Going down the wall, this is what I call the sink wall, opposite of the door. There's going to be a counter goes across, as well as upper cabinets go across, and they go all the way over here to that blue line. The white line is the bed, and of course the bed's going to raise and will be up against the ceiling, and it's a 10-inch thick memory foam, so figure a total of 12 inches down from the ceiling at most. I'm 5'9", the ceiling's 7 foot. I can just, I can reach it with my knuckle. And so by the time I raise the floor up 1 3/4 inches and so forth, because we're going to put an inch of insulation and 3/4 inch plywood on top of this existing floor. And that's going to raise me up a little bit. The ceiling's not going to be thick. This is 1.5 inch stringers, so we'll have 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch foam in there, or not foam, but insulation. And so, I will get close to the ceiling, but I still should be able to walk underneath the bed without ducking, which will be nice. So, back to the blue line, that's our cabinets. From that point on and around in a U shape here is benches. And of course there'll be storage underneath the benches. and you can see there's going to be some items in those areas. And then of course another on the door side, another counter with upper cabinets from the door back to where the bed would come down. And the bed's going to come all the way down to the bench height so that it's not very high, and my wife and I can get in without any issues, or get out without any issues. So that's the general layout. There's going to be a table that will go from back a ways. It's going to have a rounded corners, but rectangular table that will go back almost to the back here. It'll be this, pretty much the full length, almost the whole width, probably 4 to 4.5 feet. The bed's 5 feet, but it's coming out 6 inches from the back wall. So that white line is basically 5 foot 6 inches from the back. And so I think the table is going to be a foot shorter than that. So we have lots of table space. It'll be, a regular RV type table where you pull the poles out and you could, stash the table somewhere else. So let's take a look at a couple of the other larger things that I just have in place here, just as a kind of a visual aid. I mean, this all been mapped out on graph paper. That's kind of how I think. I'm the old school thinker. So this is our 50-gallon freshwater tank. The gray water tanks are going underneath in here. I forget exactly where they are. Somewhere in here, there's 2 of them. They're 223 gallons. That's all I could find without ordering specially designed, configured size. But that's what would fit underneath between the stringers and not drop down too far below. I'm still 2 inches above the axles. Anyway, 50-gallon freshwater tank. Going to be right up against the wall with the shower. Matter of fact, the plumbing will pass through that wall. Above that is an electric Bosch 4-gallon hot water heater. And next we have what's going to be our refrigerator. I already had one of these. So we're going to use one as a refrigerator, and we're going to use the other one as a freezer. They're going to be on glides, so you just bring that out, and there will be drawers or shelf above it, just like the hot water heater is going to hang on the wall. But there will be, a shelf, sink will be above there, but there will be storage wherever there's a nook or cranny. We will make storage. And then on this side, we have what we're going to use as the freezer. Again, on glides will come out from the cabinet. This is where our electronics will be. We're also going to have a cabinet that's floor to ceiling here, and which will be a wardrobe, but it's not going to be that wide. But the bottom part of it is where there's going to be batteries. So I have 3 battery systems we're using. Again, I didn't buy any of that stuff for this. I'm trying to keep my costs down somewhat, because just like doing an EV conversion, doing these things is expensive. I mean, you can go all over with the budget, but this is going to be fully self-contained, have comfortable amenities, and it's no way to do it really cheap and be comfortable to my and my wife's tastes. So anyway, some of the batteries there. There's a battery that we use in the car trailer that will be on top of the fender well. It's actually wider than the fender well, so it will come out a ways. But so there's 4 Battleborn 100 amp hour cells will be one system. 2 SOK 206 amp hour will be another system, and then the one from the car trailer which again, these are going to be strapped down. I can remove these and put the one back in the car trailer if I want to use it. It doesn't get used that often, but if we want it, it's available. So anyway, it is 8 of the CALB 180 amp hour cells, and there's 4 in series, 2 sets of 4 in series that are paralleled, so 4S2P. So approximately, I think it's 4.8 or 5.2 kilowatt hours. I forget, get confused which one's which. But anyway, so those 3. So probably the Battleborns will go back here. The SOKs will go up here. And like I said, the CALBs will go on the fender well there. They're side by side like this. The CALBs are, not lengthwise but sideways. So they're not too wide, but they're wider than the fender well is. So anyway, 3 systems. We can run them off of them, individually switched, individually charged, so forth. And we'll see how far we get, that kind of thing. I mean, you can do all the calculations, but seeing how things, work together, it's always, there's estimated, calculated, and then there's actually measured. So we'll see how everything comes out to my, compares to my penciling out. Then in the back corner here is the EcoFlow Wave 2. This is going to be our heating and cooling for this trailer. It's really rated for almost this size. And so it's, I think for the heating or the cooling, one of them it is, and the other is slightly undersized for it. But I figure it will do just fine, considering my wife and I tend to follow that 60 to 80 degrees. we try to avoid the extremes. And so anyway, this will help keep us comfortable even in the extremes. And it has its own battery pack. Also, I believe it's like 1159 watt hours. And depending on your inside and outside temperatures, and whether you can use the eco mode or not, that battery pack can go up to 8 hours, I think. But again, lots of variables, so we'll see how it works, where we go and how we use it. But again, it does. I've tested it, and it charges quickly. It's not lithium iron phosphate, unfortunately. It's NMC, so that's my biggest liability, is having this NMC battery in my trailer, under my bed, so to speak. So anyway, it has to be past the fender well in order to get it fit. So it's going to be in its own little cabinet, so it can draw air in the front here, and it exhausts out here, and it will do so kind of under the table here. And then for the compressor, the exhaust goes out the top, intake lower down, and that's going to go out the side wall. So here's the gray tanks, one here, one there. And what I'm doing is, like I said, they're going to hang down 2 inches below the stringers under the trailer. But they're not the low point. The axles are 2 inches lower than the tanks. And they're going to go back towards the axles a little bit. So hopefully, either the hitch goes up or the wheels go up, but the road hazards are the things you got to watch out for. So anyway, they're not going to be the lowest point under the rig. But for rocks being thrown up and everything, I'm using some ABS between the tank. ABS has good impact resistance. So this will just be a little extra buffer between the rock or whatever gets shot up and would hit the bottom side of the tank. It's hopefully give me a little bit of protection. And then this aluminum angles, this is, there'll be another piece aluminum that goes, this is actually, the tank is upside down. So this is the bottom of the trailer. This is going towards the ground. So the straps, there'll be 2 straps that go down and will fasten to the floor of the trailer, come over and down. So the weight and anything is not really going to be against the tank, but the strap is going to be against this aluminum, which is against the ABS, and all that to really protect the tank from, you know, any kind of abrasion or whatever. And then on the leading edge here, so this would actually be down here. This is the leading edge. We've got this piece a little bit long, so it'll add some protection to this fitting that comes off. And then in front of the front, you know, the first tank, there's 2 tanks, one in front of the other. We'll have this piece that will attach to the straps, like I said, that fasten to the floor of the trailer, so that anything that kicks up and is coming towards the tanks will hit this ABS first. And that's 3/16 ABS. That's the tanks. So they're going to be installed soon also. They're going to be installed before the insulation and the flooring goes in. And so a lot of things, you know, kind of happening all at one time here. But lots of interruptions, so not going too fast, but also like to really kind of think on things, because everything's interrelated. So you got to think about where plumbing goes, wiring goes, different fixtures, so forth. And because I'm not a carpenter, I'm buying the cabinets, and I'll modify the cabinets to fit my purposes. So I'm not building the cabinets from scratch. I will on the benches build those, but the cabinets and the upper cabinets are going to be off the shelf, so to speak. So until next time, hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.